Good evening, everybody. How are you? That's me, Comic Crack, and it's Sunday. We had our chat this afternoon, and with Damien and Larasa. Just look back in my videos, and it should be there. An epic long one this time. Lots of good books. Talked about a lot of good books. I'd suggest tuning in. Especially to see the gem of a book that Damien added to his collection. It's the first book that he talks about, so near the beginning of the three of us chatting. Well worth looking at. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I'm not going to talk about the books that I read this week. I pretty much talked about them in the chat today. The ones that I really got a kick out of. It was just good reading. There wasn't much that like blew me away. I revisited some underground comics again, which was a total blast. Really fun to read those again. I don't feel that there's much need to talk about them a ton. So instead, what I thought we'd do is we'll look at some of the stuff. There was a mini comic convention today here in town. It's kind of dubbed WallyCon. There's a guy named Wally at one of the flea markets, and he puts on a comic convention. It's the convention that me and friends of mine have had a table set up at in the past. I didn't have anything set up this time. I was going to try to get some stuff together to see if I could sell some things, but I just didn't get on it. So next time, hopefully. But I did go to check it out, and it was fantastic. There was a lot of really hello, Sleepy Reader. There was a lot of really good sellers there. There was a lot of people there. There was a lot of 50-cent and $1 bins. There was a lot of really, really good stuff. I came in with a budget. I stuck to the budget, and I thought we'd kind of talk about the stuff that I picked up. I managed to complete a couple of runs from dollar bins, which is always the good way to go. DaCosta, how's it going? Gorvidal, hello. But first, I thought I'd talk about Loading the Cannon, AFPC. Look at this. The gang's all here. So now we can start. So I thought we'd talk about first some music that I listened to recently. A little bit of a story. So we've had a storm here the past couple of days, rain, and then we had some bit of snow again. It's turned to ice, but it rained for kind of a couple of days straight. We got about an inch worth of rain over the course of a couple of days is what they were saying. One of the things that I was kind of in the mood for, we were listening to this tape. My son and we kind of stayed in on Friday and played video games, and it was fantastic. We have this Sega system that has all these games on it, like 40 different games. We were listening to this tape, double tape from Alex Crispin, and the company is Cobblers is the company that put this one out. So a double cassette of synthesizer type of, not quite ambient, but honestly, we listened to the second tape first. What it reminded me of was Blade Runner. That's kind of where the music sort of was, that Vangelis era Blade Runner. The second tape is fantastic, and kind of side B has some really, really good tunes on it. You can find this on Bandcamp, and you can listen to the digital version. He has a bunch of other stuff. This is the same guy that did the, I was talking about that game, Beyond the Dark Sector, that sci-fi sort of fighting fantasy game. Alex Crispin did the soundtrack for that, and he also did the soundtrack for their other game that they had, which was Beyond the Dark Castle. And they're both killer soundtracks. He's done a bunch of other stuff on his own. Nothing else really resonated with me. Those soundtracks are fantastic. This is a very close second. So that's kind of, we listened to that whole thing over the course of a day or so, and that was great. So because of all this rain, because of listening to that, I wanted to revisit Blade Runner, both of them. My son hasn't seen either of them, so I thought it would be a good opportunity. So we did a double feature on Friday. We started at, I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock, right after dinner. and we watched both of them. And I tell you, man, like the remake or this sequel or whatever you want to call it is a fantastic movie. I really loved it in the theater. I've seen the original Blade Runner, I don't know how many times at this point. This time it really, really resonated with me in a very, very deep kind of way. You know, it's funny when that kind of happens. I've always loved it, but it really just hit me in a different way this time. It's such an incredible movie. There's so much to talk about. Um, yeah, so John, it's a board game. It's a board game that you play with a deck of cards. It's got dice, or it's a dice game rather. And it's like a choose your own adventure book, like a fighting fantasy type book. It's just done in cards, and you're escaping a prison and trying to get off the ship. So he did a soundtrack for those, so you can play the game while listening to his soundtrack, which we actually played it again last night, just because we loved it so much. And we almost made it off the ship, actually. So this Alex Crispin has done stuff for that. So the Vangelis music on this one, speaking about music, me as well, AFPC, I love cassettes. There's something about that quality of them as they get older. The Vangelis music in this one is it's just next level. Like, it's really, really good. The soundtrack, normally, I'm not a big fan of movies that have a continual soundtrack through the entire thing that don't really give you a chance to breathe. Vangelis and team and whoever else on sound design and everything, they did an incredible job with this. They don't let up, but there was moments of this kind of ambience of the city, the cityscape noises and things that it sounded almost like David Lynch at moments, but there was this real blending of what is the soundtrack and what is just the sounds of the city. It's all made by synthesizers. From what I could determine, all of the sounds in the movie are synthesized sounds, which really go with the theme of the movie too. I mean, these robots, basically these skin jobs, as they're referred to in a derogatory way, kind of blending that line between human and android, and the soundtrack doing the same thing, I thought was fantastic. My wife worked with Rutger Hauer on a movie or a TV show, sorry, Channel Zero. So he was kind enough to sign this for us when he was here doing that movie. So, and his performance in it is really incredible. And his last scene, his last kind of bit of dialogue of the movie is just really, it's a beautiful, beautiful scene, man. So that was that just resonated with me deeply, so much so that I'm going to watch it again this week. My wife is going to watch it with me again this time, she said. And then we jump to Blade Runner 2049. Like I said, pretty incredible. Different themes, some really good nods musically to the original. Still a phenomenal movie, but it wasn't, I didn't enjoy it as much this time. I've seen this one about, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now as well. This one didn't resonate with me like it did the first couple of times, but still well worth checking out if you haven't seen this. Villeneuve doing it. So onto the stuff that I grabbed at this convention. One of the reasons I wanted to go down to it is there's a guy that used to work at Galaxy Comics. He no longer works there. He hasn't worked there in a couple of years. He still sells stuff on his own, and he still attends some of these conventions. I'd put the word out a couple of times in the community here in Winnipeg for this first issue of Orphan and the Five Beasts. With no luck, he messaged me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, I do have copies of issue number 1 and 2. I'd like to sell them both together, though, as opposed to just the number 1." And I said, "Absolutely. I don't mind. Tell me when and where." So he was set up at the convention, and he had issue 1 and 2 there for me. So I scooped it up. I read it tonight. It's amazing. I've talked about this before. I really, really dig this series a lot. I hope Stokoe keeps going on it. I hope that the 4 issues aren't the end, but however many issues this goes, I'm there for it for sure. Like, I really think this is a fun premise. His art is just wild. As good as it's ever been. You know, it's really, he's got a hell of a visual style to his characters, the action scenes, the clothing, the very bizarre looking characters. Everything about it is just his own. So this was really great. I'm so glad he had this copy for me so I could complete that run there. One of the other things he had was the 3-issue Last Days of American Crime. I had one of these. I think it was issue number 2 here. I had issue number 2 forever because it's the only one I ever found. Always keeping my eye out for the other ones. I never find them. So eventually I traded it away, sold it. I don't remember, but it's not in the collection anymore. So when I was looking through his bins, jumped on these as soon as I saw them and scooped them up. Like I said, I read it digitally many years ago, and I loved it. I really love this book. So it's Rick Remender, Greg Tocchini. This first one, I read the first one tonight. Incredible. Tocchini's art there's times it really doesn't work for me in this book. I remember loving it the first time I looked through it, or the first time I read it rather, but it doesn't kind of, not that it's bad, it's still really great, but there's moments that it's just a little kind of off. But the storytelling in this one is fantastic. So it's kind of like crime is going to come to an end. The government is going to be sending out this signal to the masses that's going to basically force everybody to comply and never want to commit crimes ever again. So this is kind of the last hurrah. Everybody is just partaking in all sorts of debauchery out on the streets everywhere they are to kind of get it out of their system before before they no longer have a choice. So our main character is going to pull a heist, and he goes to the bar to meet kind of his partner for it to talk about the crime itself. And in the meantime, he meets this woman who kind of offers to drink with him, and they kind of have a moment together. And it's sort of the stereotypical, this is clearly a troubled woman. He's clearly a troubled man. They have some really good back and forth dialogue wise. She says that there's one thing that she wants to do to strike off her bucket list, and she motions for him to follow her into the bathroom, where of course they end up having sex in the bathroom, and it goes for a couple of pages here, and then the last line, what did we just check off your to-do list? And then she replies to him, fuck a loser. Just absolutely brutal, because their whole kind of interaction so far has been this sort of antagonistic back and forth. I just thought that was, I stopped and laughed out loud. That was just a brilliant piece of dialogue there from her. She, of course, is with this man that he's supposed to be meeting to kind of talk about this heist. And so we get kind of the introduction to the trio of them. So that's issue number 1, issue number 2 there. And then probably the most kind of pulp novel looking of them, issue number 3 there, with a beautiful, almost looks like a Titan Comics hard case crime type of cover. Really amazing stuff. So that was a hell of a good read. Highly recommend it if you haven't read it. Yeah, Orkstain. I tell you, Orkstain is it's unbelievable. And the Hunt for His Aliens book. Yes. I've never seen his alien stuff at all. Like Stokoe's art, I think first encountered it in Prophet, but haven't read Orkstain. Do you recommend it? Yeah, I would highly recommend Orkstain. If I'm not mistaken, they're Loading the Cannon. Wasn't that his first stuff? I'm sure that he did some, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm guessing that he did some independent or like self-published type of zine things, but I mean, that's the first time I remember him from when Orkstain came out. I mean, that issue jumped off the shelf at you. His style is just incredible. So for the rest of this stuff, it's a mix. There's a lot of like 50-cent and dollar bins. Yeah, unfinished. So there's a lot of 50-cent and dollar bins, and then there's some cards that we'll look at last. So from a 50-cent bin, there was one table. He had about 3 or 4 50-cent bins. I had a flip through. There wasn't a ton in there. That was kind of early on as well too. So I wanted to try to at least make a round throughout all of the tables. I really should have, thinking about it right now, I really should have gone back. So this is ACG, the American Comics Group, from 1996. Ricardo Ferrari, Dialogue Rouge, pencil and inks, Cato, lettering, Mega. It looked great. I love this kind of stuff. I love a good samurai comic. And then the added bonus, there's another story in here too. So correct me if I'm wrong, but San Ho Kim, I believe, is the artist from the Yang series. I'm sure that somebody out there will know that answer. But this looks great. I don't see ACG stuff that often, but it looked intriguing. I had a quick flip through, black and white, 50 cents, no brainer. It was mine. So that was that one. I finally found an issue of Solomon Kane, issue number 1. I think this was $1. This was in a dollar bin. And I've been looking for this for a while too. I've got the other 5 issues in this Solomon Kane. I'm not loving the Solomon Kane stuff so far. It's not blowing me away like the Cull stuff did when I first read it, but I'm really glad to find this issue here. So here we go. Ralph Macchio script, Steve Karn, Brett Blevins pencilers, Brett Blevins color artist and inker, Joe Rosen letterer, Glynis Oliver colorist. Yeah, so $1. Finally found that. I didn't think I'd ever actually find it. I've been looking for it for so damn long. It feels like such a long time, but finally got my hands on it. So something else that I never see, 2 issues of Puma Blues, or when I do see them, they sure aren't 50 cents a piece, because that's what these ones cost me. I was the only 2 that he had in the bin. I've got the hardcover, but I really wanted to see the floppies. I really wanted to see it in this format. I'm sure we've talked about it before here. This is from Aardvark Vanheim, and I'm blanking on his name right now. Stephen Murphy and Michael Zulli, of course, Michael Zulli. Beautiful, beautiful artwork, like really gorgeous stuff. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes open for more of these. I would love to get this in single issue format. The hardcover there's nothing wrong with the hardcover besides having really shit binding. But if I do find all of these in singles, I'll probably end up offloading that hardcover, because I would like to read it in this format here. So issue number 12 and 13 there of Puma Blues. Joan and Jello, Sit Rat, has been talking about Matt Howarth. And this is not, I don't know why I confuse the two all the time. Did Howarth do some stuff with Mars? This is Mark Hempel and Mark Wheatley. But I was thinking of Matt Howarth. I've listened to some music that he did with some people, and I was looking for Savage Henry. I was looking for anything else that he's done, and I remembered Mars as well. But I remembered incorrectly. For some reason, I thought that Howarth also did some Mars stuff too, but I'm wrong about that clearly. But either way, I have a few of these. I think I got about a little more than half of it. I think there was only 12 issues. I think this 12 was the final issue. I'm really looking forward to kind of getting the last few issues. I'm going to kind of push for it. I've always wanted to read it. It's always kind of intrigued me. The art doesn't kind of jump out at me, but it's not horrible either. But it's just always been a title that I end up seeing out there. Unfortunately, not the issues that I need. So I'm looking forward to hopefully picking up some more of these and finding the last kind of few issues. So that's Mars number 8. And then Mars number 12. So the final. Yeah, the way to read Puma Blues is in singles. Excellent. Well, that's good. Blevins is so good. Boz Chronicles is favorite. I love Boz Chronicles. I really enjoyed that a lot. And then John saying you have a few of those. Nice. Huge print run, 80s black and white. Yeah, no, totally. So this is something that I haven't seen before. Aircel has done. They did a couple of kind of exploitation type movie adaptations. So this is Herschel Gordon Lewis's Scum of the Earth. It was supposed to be a 3-issue series. When I went to put it in my CLZ, there was only 2 issues listed in the CLZ. So I mean, that could be a bunch of things. You know, I don't know if the 3rd ever came out. I've got a Doris Wishman, Bad Girls Go to Hell adaptation, I think is what it is. Is it Bad Girls Go to Hell? I can't remember. So these I don't ever see out there. I never see this kind of Aircel stuff. I see some other Aircel, but not these kind of adaptations. The art is nothing that kind of strikes me whatsoever. I'm buying this purely for the kind of gimmick of it, of kind of redoing these exploitation films. I think it's a great idea to do it into comic book form. I think it's a phenomenal idea. What year is this one from? This is 1991. So yeah, 1 of 3 is what it was supposed to be. But there you go. And that was, I think this was a dollar bin one. I can't remember, but cheap anyway. After all of this time, I don't know why issue 6 of Island has been so hard to find, but I found it in a goddamn dollar bin. So again, the beauty of being able to go back to conventions and dig through bins. He had about 5 issues. I know the guy whose table it was, and as I walked up, he said, "Sorry, Terrence, I don't have any independent books here. It's all like mainstream stuff." He's like, "I know you like that kind of weirder shit." And I'm like, I'm going to look anyway. And way in the back of one of his bins was a few Islands. So when I passed this over to him and gave him $1, his mind was blown that I actually found something. So I guess that was also worth the dollar. Nice guy, like really nice guys. But I mean, at this point, a lot of the locals know the kind of stuff that I'm into. So they usually steer me right to the bins that they know I'm going to be interested in. The bonus in this one is Sarah Horrocks. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. We've talked about Sarah Horrocks here before. She's done a couple of things. One is kind of like a giallo type of comic, and I'm blanking on the name right now of it. So it's great to see her involved in this as well. This furry story is a bit of a thing. It takes up about half the book. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know why this particular issue has been so hard to find out of all of them. I don't think that there's anybody associated with it that's really possibly the reason that it's you know, that it's so hard to find. But A Land Called Tarot. So now I have the whole run of Island, and there's a whole bunch of issues that I haven't read yet. So I would recommend, I'll try to find that title for you there, Loading the Cannon, and let you know. I think she has a page and you can order directly from her. But the stuff that I got directly from her is fantastic. It's really like an 80s Italian giallo movie. And just with this really great style that she has. We'll take a look at her pages. The pages here aren't too bad, but I wouldn't say that these are classic Sarah Horrocks. So here she is here. Yeah, the furries. That's exactly what I was thinking, Gore. So here's her stuff here. Like I said, this doesn't give you a really good taste of what she's capable of, but there's a bit of a look at it. I'll find that book and send you a message later there, Colin, to let you know. Yeah, so there we go. I kind of have mixed feelings about Island as a series. I mean, I'm really going to give it a try and try to get through the whole thing. I just remember falling off pretty early with it, not really finding much there for me. But who knows? Maybe I give it another shot, and it's fantastic. The furries, yes. The spec market is heating up now on furries, critters, etc. Don't ask me why. Really, is that true, John? That's crazy. I think I remember that episode, Gore. I do believe I remember that one. And then finally for comics, something else. No, some scum at the warehouse this weekend. Nice. That is correct. AFPC. Yeah, that was the Brandon Graham one. And then there was a couple of offshoots. I think 8 House was one of the offshoots from it. There was a couple of other things too, I think, that then kind of, was it Arclight / 8 House? I think something like that was the title. It kind of finished off in its own series, started in Island and kind of went off. So this, again, we want to look at books that bring me back to my teenage years of discovering kind of Freak Brothers and underground comics. Rip-Off Comics is one of those. I've got most of them. I think I'm missing 4 issues now. It started off in comic book form. I think it went for about 6 or 8 issues, or maybe it was 10. Anyway, it went for a bunch of issues as comics, comic sized, and then it moved to the magazine size. And these are great. Even sitting and just looking through this, there's such an era for me personally of these kind of alternative or underground or indie type of artists from back then. And these magazines just really put that succinctly for me. So this is 1989 is when this issue came out. So near the end, I was only picking up, obviously I wasn't there from the beginning of when they turned to magazines. I wasn't buying it right from there, but once I discovered it, I kind of grabbed what I could. But they just weren't around a lot. So let's have a look at the list here. So Mary Fleener, Bruce Bollinger, Paul Oswang, Charles Kaufman, Pierre Quinn, Wayne Honath, Douglas Mitchell, or Michael, sorry, Scott Nickel, Fulbert Sturgeon, always in. I think Fulbert was in every single one of the magazine issues. Gilbert Shelton, of course, and Tony Bell, and then Hunt Emerson at the end there. So really nice, like really good stuff. It's not like it has its underground moments for sure, but it's definitely pushing more mainstream than anything. Oh yeah, so from Meef, I think is that artist there. So getting some of these underground guys into a bit of bigger distribution, because I mean I would see these on the shelf in my comic shops when I was buying this stuff. So this wasn't a magazine that was kind of behind the counter, because it was fairly tame in comparison to the other underground stuff. Yeah, Fleener has always been a favorite too there, Loading the Cannon and AFPC. So these are great. Issue 22 and 24. Freak Brothers on the front there. And who do we got in this one? Oh yeah, in this issue, Bob and Kate's San Diego postcard. Chris Harmon, Mary Fleener again, Gilbert Shelton, Trina Robbins in this one, Dennis Warden in this one too, R.L. Crabb, Gavin Wood, Dennis Warden, hey, page 34, Orange Sunshine at Disneyland. I said 34, yeah, I did. Didn't Dennis Warden, didn't he do that Stick Boy comic? Or maybe I'm confusing names here. Anyway, there's some Trina. So yeah, these will be fun to kind of read through again. Like I said, just really brings me back to that time. So here's the San Diego scrapbook. Photos of people and some stories. There you go. So yeah, cool shit. And I never see these. They're just never around. And when I do, it's usually the issues that I already have. So it's going to take me a long time to finish off this run, but I'm that much closer now. He did. Hey, Loading the Cannon, Colin, is that what you're saying? Yeah, he did that, Stick Boy. So finally, last but not least, kind of a fun, I'm going to bring you a little closer here if I can. Man, oh man, was I excited to find this shit. So Kitchen Sink Press 20th anniversary, they had a trading card set. I'm sure that at one point they came in a box. There wasn't the box, unfortunately. He had 2 complete sets, $10 each. I said, fuck it. Probably one of the most expensive things that I bought there today. But this is so great. We'll look at this in a minute. I was going to do that, John, this live rip, but I've since opened them all up. So I first heard of this Pee-wee's Playhouse Fun Pack card set from a guy, Andy Mation. He does some YouTube videos where he does flip books and stop motion animation and things. And he collects a bunch of old cards already. I guess some Garbage Pail Kids had a flip book that came with it. Pee-wee's Playhouse had some cards that you could turn into a mini flip book. So it was on his channel that I heard about it. The amazing thing about these is that you also get a ton of other shit. You get these, if you can see that at all, those lenticular type of cards. You get one of these per pack. So unfortunately, and he was experiencing the same thing. He bought like a box of them, and he was opening packs and packs and packs where it was doubles of everything, right? So there's Jambi there, and then Pee-wee sitting in the chair, sitting in Cherry. So you get one lenticular card per pack. You get some, let's get to these first here. You get 3 cards. So, and this was another thing. So this one, it's really hard to get all the cards because I got pretty much the same cards in every single pack. So you get 3 cards per pack, and there we go. And on the back of them, oh, and then there's this one here too. On the back of them, Dinosaur Family Dino Facts, just all sorts of stuff on the back. They don't credit any of the artists on here, so I'm not sure if Gary Panter had anything to do with it. I have a feeling like this puzzle at the back, might be Panter, but I'm not for sure. I'm not like for sure. Yeah, triples of that one. Is that the one? Should I get it to, what do they have? They have mini slabs for cards, hey? Cowboy Curtis, ultra rare. So you also get one card that has stickers on it. And this kind of in that almost Basil Wolverton type of way for these. You get the whole alphabet, I guess, over the course of some cards. And then these are also stickers here on this one too. And it's on the back side, sorry, of this one where it's the stop motion stuff. So you collect them all, and it has 2 different stop motion or flip book type of animations rather. So which is super cool. But honestly, the best thing about these, and seriously, I found these right at the end of my dig. Otherwise, I might have spent all my money and bought all of them. So I could only afford 3 packs at the end there. They come with like a little sort of activity as well. This one is a Pee-wee plane that you can punch out. These are little masks. It's like a disguise kit is what they call them on the back. But the art on all of this is just fucking incredible. Yeah, it really does AFPC. I would agree that it looks like his line. So some of those, that's cool. And then the other thing that's really badass is these old school tattoos. And this ink is just thick on the page. It's really, really beautiful stuff. Like this reminds me of being a kid too, when you used to get the fake tattoos out of the gumball machine. But so no doubles for any of this stuff, which was fantastic. I don't mind getting doubles of the cards themselves because I'm not too concerned about that, but it's the other stuff. And when I've seen them online, the boxes usually go for a lot of money. So it was great to find a couple of the packs just so I can kind of see them with my own eyes. Yeah, art is amazing. It was the 80s, so I didn't think there was anything unusual about Pee-wee's Playhouse. In retrospect, I'm surprised it aired on one of the major networks, much like I was when Twin Peaks aired. Absolutely. I've got the box sets of the DVDs. I'm a huge Pee-wee's Playhouse fan. I always have been. I've always thought it was a phenomenal bit of work and just kind of the artistry in it. And my kids have grown up watching it. Jaden more than Lillian. Lillian hasn't watched as much of them, but Jaden and I think, watched every single disc, every single episode. So yeah, a really, really great show. So to end it off, Blacklickum, yes, absolutely. To end it off, I thought we'd do this, and we'll kind of look through these cards here. But I'm going to sit down because I'm hunched over this camera, and my back is starting to kill me. So let's see if we can manage this here. No, fair enough, AFPC. It's not that unusual. I just think it was unique for its time, right? It's not that they were doing anything super weird or anything. It's just nice to see something so creative. And it's the same thing I thought about. There was the show when Jaden was a kid called Yo Gabba Gabba, and it had these big puppets, and a whole bunch of people kind of did guest performances on there, and incredible show. And that had a vibe of kind of the Pee-wee's Playhouse aesthetic to me as well too. So this is the kitchen sink 20th anniversary trading card set. We'll just kind of look through them. You get 36 cards focusing on a different artist, and then you get a write-up on the back as well too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we start with some Will Eisner there, the Spirit, as kind of our card number 1. Al Cap. So yeah, what did I say? Where's that? I thought there was a title card here. Yeah, 20th anniversary. So 1969 to 1989 were the years there. So 1969 is when they started. I have a few of these random cards that I found somewhere one time. I think like 6 or 7 of them. Again, I bought them at the time because I never thought I'd find the actual set. So really great to find the actual set. Mr. Donald Simpson, Megaton Man. And I like the way that everything is just these kind of couple of colors here, this pink and this red, and black and white. Really, really nice. Who do we got here? Oh, Xenozoic Tales, of course. Mark Schultz. I should have recognized. So there's Mark Schultz. There's some Death Rattle. Poplaski. Is it Peter? Peter Poplaski. Yeah, drawn by Peter Poplaski. The front of the card, drawn by Peter Pulaski, depicts a scene from a true story written and drawn by Jack Jackson. Death Rattle, a great series. I like all of the volumes. I think there's some good stuff in all of them. Another series that I don't have everything. It's one of the things the kayfabe guys talk about, like Ed Piskor specifically talks about that first volume of Death Rattle. I think it was 3 issues as the stuff you want to get. There's no doubt those first 3 issues are just phenomenal. Absolutely. But I dig this stuff too. I bought a ton of cards last year that I had planned to show on YouTube. I think Terrence just lit that fire in my ass and, oh, dude, absolutely. You got to do it. I want to see cards. You know me and cards, John. Let's go. The cover to Blab number 3, Charles Burns. I guess Blab is going to be coming back out again with some new stuff. I think you can find them on Instagram, I believe is where I'm following them. Drew Friedman, right? Twist was another series that they had. I've got a couple of issues of that. Another anthology. Yeah, Twist is a humor anthology comic book edited by J.D. King. I remember it being okay. Steve Rude's sketchbook card. Okay, fair enough. You were 6. Yeah, when it first aired, so it blended in with everything else. Yeah. It's a really great set, John. You have a deck of weirdo cards. Really, AFPC. I'd love to see those. That's cool. Kurtzman, Kings in Disguise. This is a book that I don't know. 6-issue comic book series published by Kitchen Sink. Tells the story of Freddie Block, a 12-year-old small town boy living in the Great Depression. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Howard Cruz, of course, the classic Howard Cruz. Soon the veil of everyday reality was parted. Dancing naked with the angels. Kings in Disguise is great. Okay, well, I'll have to keep my eyes open for it there, Colin. Milt Kniff. Is that dragon lady or something? Or Miss Lace. Okay, featuring Miss Lace. Dragon lady was something else, I guess. Looks like Melody, Sylvia Rancourt, and Jacques Boivin. Mostly just reproductions of the covers. Okay, that's cool. It was great, this era of doing cards for everything. I really enjoyed it. Of course, you got some Mr. Natural, R. Crumb. Great stuff. Another Kurtzman. Some Flash Gordon. Who is that? Alex Raymond. Is that right? Alex Raymond? Yeah, Alex Raymond. Trying to read some of these cards from a distance when the signature. The Outer Space Spirit. Eisner, Wood, and Pfeiffer. Goddamn Beaver. Blanking on this artist's name. Oh, of course, Will Elder. Created by Harvey Kurtzman and given animation by artist Will Elder. Goodman's adventures are collected in Kitchen Sink Press book titled appropriately Goodman Beaver. The book is available in an economic softcover as well as a hardcover signed by both Kurtzman and Elder. So, I mean, you know, like a lot of this stuff, just advertisements. Yeah, I've never read any Melody at all AFPC. Now, Omaha, on the other hand, I've read a ton of. I've never finished the run. I've got the run. I just haven't finished the whole thing, reading the whole thing. I really should dive back into it because I was really enjoying this quite a bit. So Omaha, The Cat Dancer, Reed Waller, and Kate Worley. Another Will Eisner, City People Notebook. Snarf, another classic kind of indie or alternative comic artists anthology. I really loved Snarf a lot. The early issues are fantastic, but honestly, I even like the later issues. And again, the later issues, I was reading those the same time I was reading stuff like Ripoff Press, you know, so it's kind of has that same feeling for me, that same nostalgia feeling, those later issues when I think about it. More Milt Kniff, Steve Canyon. That's got to be Xenozoic Tales as well, too. Yeah, Mark Schultz. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, I guess. Oh, it did. Hagor. Yeah. That's quite a pairing on the shelves there. Denizens of Deep City. Doug Potter's Denizens of Deep City. I've seen one or two of these issues out there in the past, but I've never picked it up, so I don't know anything about this book at all. But there you go. Little Abner. There we go. More Eisner, A Life Force. Like, really, I think the presentation on these is great. The unfortunate thing about these cards is they are, let me just take out one of the Pee-wee ones here. So they're bigger than the regular cards, which means that my binders with the sleeves won't house them because they're wider and taller. So I'm unsure of, I guess I'm going to keep them in that bag. My wife was like, what are you going to do with those? I'm like, well, I'm going to look at them and read them. Duh. She's like, yeah, but afterwards. So who the hell knows? Nard and Pat by J.Z. Lynch. I've got a couple of Nard and Pat books as well, too. Nancy, Ernie Bushmiller. Yeah, so I mean, I wish it would have come with a box or something, but because it would have been nice to kind of put them in one of the binders. Homegrown Funnies, another Crumb book there. Sleazy Scandals of the Silver Screen. Is the Spiegelman? Yeah, I think that says Spiegelman down there. Classic underground comic from the early 1970s, recently reprinted by Kitchen Sink Press. Okay, another one I don't have. Austin Briggs, Flash Gordon. And then Harvey Kurtzman's Jungle Book. Some Dennis Kitchen. I love Dennis Kitchen's art. Dennis Kitchen is fantastic. I just looked up when it first aired. It was actually 5. Wow. Yeah, that show is etched in my memory. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It really, Pee-wee's Playhouse had a real big impact, I think, on everybody. Because I sure as hell wasn't 5. What year did it first come out there, AFPC? Some Jack Jackson, Secret of San Saba, awesome. I've got this. I've got a bunch of Jackson graphic novels, and they're all so good. Seriously. Colin and I have mentioned Jack Jackson in passing as well too, because I know he's a fan, and has some original art. I love Jackson stuff. Another Omaha, The Cat Dancer, and then almost finally Charles Burns from what is it, Big Baby, right? Is that what the series is called? Yeah, or Curse of the Mole Man. Curse of the Mole Men. So 35 of 36. And then just kind of last 86. Holy shit. I was 13 AFPC. 20th anniversary card set. So just kind of gives you the rundown of who it is and sort of the title card, and then talks to you about how it started in a small apartment in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 1969. Dennis Kitchen wrote, drew, had printed, and then sold on the street. Mom's Homemade Comics #1. So yeah, there you go. It is a great set. Loading the Cannon. They had one more as well for $10, but I only bought the one set. I was really hoping he had a bin of a couple of sets of books of cards rather. So I kind of did a dig through, hoping that there would be something else. That's it, people. There's a look at those things. Yeah, I mean, I don't, in a way, I'm kind of sad that I bought the Pee-wee's Playhouse cards, because now I desperately want the rest of them. And they're just so expensive. Getting a box online is just so expensive on eBay. So was that on VHS or Betamax, DaCosta? So there you go. Thanks very much, guys, for joining me. It was good to see you all. Appreciate you coming out and hanging out for 40-50 minutes and looking at my shit. We'll talk to you next weekend. Thanks, AFPC. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.